Hello everyone, I am Lucy. A big thank you to everybody who has subscribed to this channel. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please do so that you will get a notification each time I upload a new video. Raila Odinga is identified as one of the leading forces behind the democratization process of Kenya, particularly during the repressive regime of President Daniel Arap Moi and the lead up to the adoption of the new constitution in 2010 that affirmed many formerly neglected fundamental rights. Raila Odinga was born on the 7th of January 1945 to Mary Juma Odinga and Jaramogi Oginga Odinga. His father served as the first vice president of Kenya under President Jomo Kenyatta. Raila went to Kisumu Union Primary, Maranda Primary in Bondo, and Maranda High School, where he studied until 1962 when he was transferred by his father to the then East Germany, where he studied at the Harder Institution. In 1965, Odinga was awarded a scholarship at the Technical School Magdeburg, which is part of the philological faculty at the University of Leipzig in East Germany. Odinga returned to Kenya in 1970, and in 1971 he founded East African Spectra, the only company manufacturing liquid petroleum gas cylinders in Kenya. His first stint in public service was in 1974 when he was appointed Group Standards Manager of the Kenya Bureau of Standards. After holding that position for 4 years, he was promoted to be the Deputy Director in 1978. He held that position until 1982 when he was detained because of his political activity. Raila's political career started when he was arrested and charged with treason. He was accused of being among the masterminds of the 1982 attempted coup. Raila was detained without trial for 6 years. Raila was released on the 6th of February 1988, only to be rearrested in September 1988 for his pro-democracy and human rights agitation at a time of unrelenting human rights abuse by the Kenyan government. Kenya was under a single-party rule by then. Raila's encounters with the authoritarian government generated an aura of intrigue about him, and his followers christened him Agwambo, which means the mystery or unpredictable in Luo. Odinga was released on the 12th of June 1989, only to be incarcerated again on the 5th of July 1990, this time together with Mr. Kenneth Matiba and Charles Rubia, and this was during the agitation for multi-party democracy in Kenya. Raila was released on the 21st of June 1991, and in October he fled the country to Norway amid indications that the increasingly corrupt Kenyan government was attempting to assassinate him without success. By the time Raila Odinga was leaving for Norway, the Forum for the Restoration of Democracy (FORD), which was a movement formed to agitate for the return of multi-party democracy to Kenya, had just been formed. Raila Odinga returned to Kenya in February 1992 and joined FORD, then led by his father Jaramogi Oginga Odinga. Raila was elected vice chairman of the General Purposes Committee of FORD. In the months running up to the 1992 general election, FORD split into FORD Kenya, which was led by Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, and FORD Asili, led by Kenneth Matiba. Odinga became FORD Kenya's deputy director for elections. Raila was elected Lang'ata Member of Parliament in 1992 on a Ford Kenya ticket. Raila's first bid for the presidency was in 1997. Odinga finished third after President Moi, the incumbent, and Democratic Party candidate Mwai Kibaki. Raila, however, retained his position as the Lang'ata Member of Parliament. Raila surprised a lot of people when he decided to support Moi, his arch enemy. Raila entered into a political merger between his NDP party and Moi's much-hated KANU party. The merger was called New KANU. Odinga's admirers now saw him as a sellout to a cause he had once championed by closing ranks with a despot. Raila accepted a position in Moi's cabinet as energy minister and served from June 2001 to 2002 during Moi's final term. In the subsequent KANU elections, Raila was elected KANU's Secretary General as part of the power-sharing deal of the merger. It was apparent to many that Odinga hoped to ascend to the presidency through KANU and with Moi's support. In 2002, much to the chagrin of Odinga and many other hopefuls in the party, Moi endorsed Uhuru Kenyatta, son of Kenya's first president Jomo Kenyatta, but a relatively newcomer in politics, to be his successor. This led to a fallout with Moi. Many KANU loyalists felt that the then 38-year-old Uhuru was politically inexperienced and lacked the leadership qualities needed to govern Kenya. Disgruntled members led by Raila left KANU and formed the Rainbow Movement. Most big names left KANU, and Moi was left with his hand-picked successor almost alone, with a party reduced to an empty shell. The Rainbow Movement joined the Liberal Democratic Party, which later teamed up with the opposition Mwai Kibaki's National Alliance Party, a coalition of several other parties, to form the National Rainbow Coalition, also known as NARC. Although terms of agreement between the Liberal Democratic Party and the National Alliance of Kenya were not completely revealed to the public, the two parties reportedly promised to equitably share cabinet posts and power, including naming Odinga to the new strong prime minister post that would be created if Kibaki was elected president. The National Rainbow Coalition's efforts to challenge KANU were successful, and Kibaki was elected president in December 2002. When Kibaki became president, he did not appoint Odinga as prime minister. Contrary to a pre-election memorandum of understanding, neither did he give the Liberal Democratic Party half of the cabinet as per the memorandum of understanding. The perceived betrayal started a simmering disquiet that led to an open rebellion and a split within the cabinet. A key point of disagreement was a proposed new constitution for the country, which was a major campaign issue that had united Kibaki's NARC and Odinga's LDP. This constitution included provisions to trim presidential powers, to rein in what was seen as an autocratic presidency, a feature of both the Moi and First President Jomo Kenyatta's regimes, which had led to a lot of power abuse and an unaccountable leadership. Kibaki's government instituted a constitutional committee which turned around and submitted a draft constitution that was seen as consolidating presidential powers and weakening regional governments, contrary to the pre-election draft. Odinga opposed this and campaigned with his LDP cabinet colleagues on the referendum no side. When the document was put to a referendum on the 21st of November 2005, the government lost by a 57% to 43% margin. Embarrassingly for Kibaki, out of 8 provinces, only one, that is a central province where his tribe was dominant, voted yes for the document. This isolated his tribe, the Kikuyu, from the rest of Kenya and exposed his campaign as ethnic-based. A disappointed Kibaki sacked the entire cabinet on the 23rd of November 2005. When it was reconstituted 2 weeks later, Odinga and the entire LDP group were left out. On 1st September 2007, the ODM elected Odinga as its presidential candidate. Odinga launched his presidential campaign on the 6th of October 2007. Odinga's bid for presidency, however, failed when, after the 27th December presidential election, the Electoral Commission declared Kibaki the winner. Odinga immediately disputed the outcome, and international observers questioned the validity of the final results. Widespread protests ensued across the country and degenerated into acts of violence involving some of Kenya's many ethnic groups, most notable which were the Kikuyu and the Luo. More than 1,000 people were killed and about 250,000 displaced. Following months of unrest, a deal brokered by the then former United Nations Secretary General Kofi Annan was signed in February 2008. An agreement was made between Kibaki and Odinga for the PNU and ODM to form a coalition government. Odinga was sworn in as Prime Minister along with the power-sharing cabinet on the 17th of April 2008. The next presidential election in which Odinga was to run was the 2013 March poll involving Kibaki's handover of power. Among the 8 presidential candidates, Odinga and Kenyatta were front runners. After a delay in the release of the final results due to problems with the vote tallying process, electoral officials announced that Odinga received 43.31% of the vote, placing him second to Kenyatta, who was declared the winner with 50.07% of the vote. Odinga filed a challenge of the results with the Supreme Court, but promised to respect the court's decision. The court ultimately upheld the election results and Odinga conceded. In preparation for the 2017 elections, Odinga's ODM party and other parties formed the National Super Alliance (NASA). This new alliance backed Odinga for president. The elections were held on 8th August 2017. The IEBC announced that Kenyatta won the election with more than 54% of the vote. Raila got 45%. NASA filed a petition with the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court annulled the results and ordered a new election to be held within 60 days. Odinga withdrew from the October 26th election rerun, stating that he did not believe that the IEBC had done enough to address NASA's concerns about the upcoming election. Kenyatta was declared the winner. On the basis of NASA's version of the election results, Odinga was sworn in as the people's president on the 30th of January 2018. Prior to the day of Odinga's symbolic inauguration, the government warned media outlets not to broadcast the ceremony. On the morning of January 30th, 2018, independent radio and television stations planning to cover Odinga's swearing in were forced off the air by authorities. In December 2021, Odinga formally declared his candidacy for president in the 2022 election. He was running as the candidate of the Azimio la Umoja alliance, which had been formed in preparation for the election and included the ODM as well as Kenyatta's Jubilee Party. Odinga vied for presidency against United Democratic Alliance's candidate William Ruto, who garnered 50.5% of votes cast, making Odinga second. Odinga rejected the results and filed a legal case challenging the result. The Supreme Court, which had consolidated Odinga's petition with 6 others that had also been filed, issued its ruling on the 5th of September 2022. The judges rejected Odinga's allegations, saying no credible evidence of fraud had been presented and the election results were upheld. Despite his 5 failed bids to win the presidency, Raila remains a towering figure in Kenyan politics. His name and influence in the Kenyan political scene remains formidable. Raila has also elicited passionate dislike and enmity in some quarters. We have come to the end of this video. In today's video, we have looked at the political life of Raila Amolo Odinga, who is a Kenyan politician and has made 5 attempts at becoming Kenya's president. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Join me in my next one. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Bye for now.